Okay, Ginger, I don't know if you've noticed this, but at Chase Field, you know, you got all the green chairs, right? You look out and you see that sea of green, but there's just one that's red.
It's really interesting, the story behind it as well. Maybe you've sat in that chair.
Yeah.
Troy Lynch has that pretty emotional story. He is live outside Chase Field telling us all about it. This is really cool, Chase. Troy.
Troy at Chase.
Troy at Chase.
We're at Troy Field, guys, and I'm Chase now. No, but here in the Diamondbacks organization, people that come to the games, they're more than just fans. They're actually family. So if you're taking a walk around Chase Field, you'll notice that there's one seat that sticks out. Now, I got to sit down with Diamondbacks CEO and President Derek Hall, who tells me why there's one seat inside of Chase Field that isn't green. Take a look around Chase Field. Do you notice anything that stands out? You can look closer. Closer. It's right there. All right, zoom in. Out of the 48,519 seats, only one is red, and its story shows its deeper meaning.
It really goes back to a time where we were changing our uniform colors, and we were switching from purple and teal to Sedona red.
Derek Hall has met lots of fans since he became the Diamondbacks president in 2006. However, one fan wasn't happy with the color change in 2007, and he made it known during one of Derek's season ticket holder town halls.
The Sonoran sand complemented by the Sedona red, and every time I said Sedona red, a gentleman in the back is throwing his arms up. He's all upset about it.
That fan was Bob Elmer, a season ticket holder for years who sat with his wife in left center field.
So I finally stopped after one of the Sedona red. I said, Bob, you seem really upset about this. He said, I can't stand it. He said, I'm so tired of you saying Sedona red. You know, red is red. Stop saying Sedona red. And I said, so you'll never wear the red. He said, I got you to stop saying Sedona red. And he said, no, I'm never going to wear it. And I said, I'll tell you what, Bob. And this was in 2007. We were expected to be one of the worst teams in the division. I said, if we win the division this year, and I get you a jersey, will you wear it? And he said, if you win the division, he said, yeah, you bet, I'll do that.
Salazar is there. This should do it, and the game is over.
The D-backs ended up winning the division for the first time in 5 years.
And he sends me a long email. He said, I concede, I give in, I'm willing to wear the red jersey. And so he and his wife came down and we did a little celebration and put on their jerseys, and they had all sorts of merchandise with them, like little bobbleheads, everything in red, and they totally embraced it.
Ever since, Derek and Bob became good friends. Their friendship spanned years, where unfortunately at the same time, Bob was in a back-and-forth battle with cancer.
My phone rings and it's Bob's wife. And she said, we're in the hospital. She said, Bob has not been doing well. In fact, he hasn't really spoken much. She said, but he woke up and he said, I really need to talk to Derek Hall. Could you please call him? And so she said, do you mind speaking to Bob? I said, of course I don't mind speaking to Bob. I look forward to it. So she gives him the phone. And Bob said, Derek, I had a dream. He said, I was floating in the air. He said, like flying in the air. He said, and I looked down and I saw this beautiful place. He said, and as I got a little closer, I realized it was Chase Field. He said, and the roof was open, the ballpark looked beautiful. As I got down even closer, I could see all the beautiful green seats. And then I got down a little closer and I realized there's one red seat. And he said, as I flew down even closer, I realized it was my seat in section 145. And he said, and there was a little plaque on it that said, Bob Elmer, quote, red is red. And he said, I just ask that when I pass, if you'd consider doing that. And I remember getting extremely emotional with that request. You've got my word, my promise that we'll make that happen. And it was actually the next morning, I believe, that he passed away. And as a result, we have just one red seat in this ballpark, and it says Bob Elmer, red is red.
Bob passed away in 2012, but will always be remembered sitting in seat 12, section 145. As people come by, fans still take the time to acknowledge Bob Elmer's iconic seat.
Fans are part of the family, they're part of the experience and part of the fabric of this place. And that's why, you know, as we're trying to make sure that this can become our permanent home, it's fixtures like this that make it so important that we find a solution to stay here.
Derek tells me he thinks about Bob every single time he passes the red seat, and he'll even bring up Bob in some of his speeches. But Bob isn't just known for the red seat. His impact goes a lot farther than just that, because Bob actually brought up a really good point. So he sits in left center field and is not able to see the Jumbotron from his seat. So he called up Derek and he's like, hey, I can't see the Jumbotron, and a lot of other people can't see it too. Can we change that? And Derek says, you're absolutely right, Bob. We're going to change that. So because of Bob, they put up TV screens by every single seat where you cannot see the Jumbotron, and that's thanks to Bob Elmer.
Oh, gosh, this guy, I love it. Okay, what about Bob's wife? I hear that she's also a big fan.
She's a big fan. She'll still come to games, and it's cool. Bob's wife, Liz, will still get a lot of messages from people and friends that she knows, and they'll send her pictures and stuff. Like, hey, I just passed Bob's seat. So it's really cool that Liz is still able to kind of remember Bob in that way, and obviously his legacy will live on here at Chase Field for the rest of time.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how many times I've been in Chase Field and I never noticed it.
Now
I'm going to be looking. Yeah, the one red chair.
Wow, I love it, Troy. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Yes. Troy